I'm David from Davin's Random, and today we are going to do some PDR on the BMW, the Z3. So I never showed you guys this, but it has a few issues. So let's check it out. So when I talk about PDR, I'm talking about paintless dent repair. And if we look down the side here, you'll see that there's a lot of dents on this one side. And what happened was, I think somebody backed into this and they creased it at some point, and whoever owned it last, I think, went over it with a probably a Harbor Freight dent repair kit, which is fine, but they didn't do a very good job. So this panel has to be cleaned up, and then there's a bunch on the door. And now, just so you know, when I went in and cleaned up my window motors, I used a special tool on the inside of the door to alleviate a lot of it. But where these dents are that you're seeing right here, there's door braces on the inside. So I'm going to have to come back and do the same thing. Let's make sure that you guys can see that. You can see it right there. Pretty obvious. And sorry for the noise. There's a lot of construction going on around my house and in the front yard and backyard, and birds everywhere. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with this panel first, because that's looking rough. But for this, I think I'm just going to remove the panel. I think that'll be the easiest. So right now I'm taking out all the bolts in here, and so they're just these little screws. And so far there has been 1, 2, you got to pull this back, and there's 2 bolts on here that I have to undo. There's one under here, one here, one here, and then there's some under the lip here, and I think this one is one, but I'm not sure. I already took one out that was somewhere up in here, I think right here. So there's also something under here that I got to take out. So I'm going to remove these and then pull this liner out, and then that should give me access to one freaking screw that's right here. That's why I have to do this. But yeah, let me pull all this stuff back. There's a plastic doodad right here that's like a little, oh no, there's nothing there. There was a grommet there. Okay, that's not what I was thinking. Maybe it was. There's a nut up underneath here that I have to get to, and another one right here, and those feel like 10 millimeter. I think there's like 14 of these little bolts that you have to take out in order to get that to the point to where it will come out. So you have to remove 14 bolts to get to this guy, and it's disgusting in here. I should have put gloves on. Anyway, I will undo this and then undo one in the passenger side. Okay, so I got that bolt out, and that one was the one that was right here. If I can get in there, right there. So that one's out. Now I have to undo these 2 right here, and then this little guy with the door open. So you have to open up the passenger side door to get to it, and then it's pretty easy to get to. Yeah, it didn't want to come off. It was kind of stuck on here with some seam sealer right here, so that was interesting to know. But anyway, that's what it looks like with it off. Exciting. Okay, this may be very hard to see. I'm going to try to get it at an angle where you can see it, but along here there's all these little micro dents, and so this is just sitting on a pillow right now. So these are the tips I'm going to be using. This is an actual PDR punch, and it's meant for hammering out from the inside. So I just have to figure out the size of my dents, and it's so hard to see here. I'm trying to get it to where you guys can really see it in the light. I just want you to be able to see what this looks like in this light. So if I bring this down a little bit, maybe now you can see how dented it is. It just looks like it's been jackhammered to death through here. So I'm going to come in with a light later on, but right now, using this tip on the back side, just tapping all of these out as good as I can go, and I'll have to come back and probably do a little bit more, but this panel is a mess. And it's better to work slowly and lightly versus trying to hit it really hard. Take your time doing this. You don't want to force anything, because when you force something, it always goes wrong. This other one requires a little bit bigger of a tip because it's just kind of a bigger dent. So, depending upon how sharp the dent is, determines what tip you're going to use. Right now I'm going over some of the bigger areas with the bigger one, and then I'm going to come back in with this one, and then I'm going to follow up with this one, and then that should narrow everything down. So, yeah, keep tapping. Tap, 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 tap. So now I'm going to work on these smaller ones around it. So for these, I'm going back to this tip. In dent repair, you see a lot of guys that do PDR use a light panel, and I'm trying to get this just the right direction so you can see all the ripples. So all those have to be taken out and smoothed out. Now I'll probably use an LED panel here in a little bit, but you have to work these down slowly. So I use a bigger bit to take out the big part of the dent, and then go down smaller bits in size to reduce the size of it. But yeah, very rippled. Shouldn't be rippled by the time I'm done. Okay, at this point I'm an hour and a half into it. I had to come inside, but I can still see a few little spots that I need to knock down. So on this side I have some high spots, so we have to go in and just tap these lightly to go through here and do this. This part is very particular because you have to be really careful since we're dealing with the paint side, but most of the time if the paint's warm enough you shouldn't have any problems. But this is getting pretty damn smooth. At this point I could probably put it on and nobody would tell, but I just want to get it a hair smoother. Alright, so I beat this thing within an inch of its life. So let me turn it over here so you can see what the inside looks like. Let me turn it around the same angle so you can see it now. And really pretty smooth. So this is 2 hours of pounding on this thing. And it's not 100% perfect, but I think it looks pretty good. I'm really happy with it. I think I did a pretty good job for as many dents as there were on here. I think there's probably about 25, which is a lot, but you know, from a foot away, you just can't tell. And this thing, I mean, now I've got handprints all over it. It's very smeary, but it's pretty freaking smooth. All right, so here is part 2. So now I've got that panel done, it's back on, I'm moving on to the door. So there's several different tools to use. Now you guys saw me using this already, and this is basically the tap out set, and I highly recommend that you get these even if you're using the glue dent puller. The glue dent pullers seem to work really well. I don't like the ones from Harbor Freight because they have a bridge and then they have this screw down thing, and you know, it just pulls the note up. They take forever to do anything. I found the slide hammer version much more efficient. So the links to all this stuff will be in the description. This comes with 2 different types of glue sticks. It comes with all these different shaped adapters that you can get in here for different size dents. It's pretty handy. It's not perfect, but you have to use like all this stuff in conjunction with each other to really achieve whatever it is that you're going to do. And a lot of times with these glue-on dent pullers, you may pull the dent out too far, and then you have to use that to tap the dent back down again. So it gets very tricky. Now the other thing too is this is kind of a, I want to say it's a pry bar. That's the only way I could describe it. So this is for using, like if you have a dent in your door that you have access to on the inside of the door, you can take the panel off and kind of wedge this in there and then grab the handle and twist it and kind of push the dent out that way. That's kind of an ideal way to do a lot of PDR as well. But really what I'm going to do is in the description, there's a YouTube channel that I really love, and I think it's actually called like First Class Dents or something like that. But anyway, I've been following this guy for years, and he has done some amazing stuff. So the link to him will also be in the description along with these tools. So anyway, let's go ahead and start on the door. All right, so now you can see what I did. So here's the panel that I just fixed, and I got the majority of it out. I would say I would give myself like a B+ for the amount of work that I did. Pretty good. There's still one slight little, very slight ding there, but now I got to tackle these doors, and this is kind of tricky. So I don't know if you can see those there, but anyway, there's a whole slew of door dings that kind of run down the side, and it was one long dent that somebody had pressed out, and I did more while I was inside the car using that kind of wedging pry bar tool, and I got a lot of it out, but it's still bad. So now I'm going to use the dent puller on that, and I'll show you guys how this is going to work. So the main thing is you got to find yourself in good light so you can see what you're doing. There's different shapes of these for everything. So we're going to start with some long ones, and these round ones you just glue a strip and then stick it on there, but we're going to go by size here. So I got to position myself where I can see these pretty easily. I think I found it. So I think it's more like right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go along these and just pop these on there. I've got a couple of them. So like you use the glue gun, like for this one I'm going to give it a stripe. And then from there, that stripe is going to go right onto the dent, right there. And then I'm going to go to another spot, and I'm going to use this little flat guy, and I'm going to do one here. So we're going to go ahead and fill this with glue. And that one sticks right on there, like so. And then I see a little guy next to it. I like to do a couple of these at a time because this can really be a time suck when you're doing this. So we'll do this guy right here. Alright, so then we'll let them cool for a second and then we'll pop them. Okay, they've been on there long enough. So now this thing, you can see how it just slides right over that, just like that. And it's just a slide hammer. So you just pull it and pop it all the way off. Like that. And same with this one. And same with this one. I'm going to try something completely different this time. Let's try gluing our crack first and then squeezing these on there. Right now it's like 60 degrees outside, so these cool pretty quickly. Anyway, just hold it up and pop it out. Rubbing alcohol is the release agent to get the glue off of these. It's just hot glue, so it's really basic. Glue, if you're removing glue and it just sticks to the body, just a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and then you'll notice that it just lifts right off. And then you just gotta clean that up. And the whole thing is probably gonna need to be polished down by the time you're done. There's just no getting around that. So this was a lot to do. So that's the pile of glue right there. Ew. Anyway, that was like 40 pulls or something like that. So that's how you use a PDR kit. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel for more random information like this, and we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.